And a very good evening to all the participants, and welcome to India for Animals once again. And thank you for joining this session that is on relearning compassion through education. We have a subject matter expert, that is Vasanthi Kumar. She's here. Vasanthi is the co founder and the managing trustee of Straw India, which is an animal welfare organization whose motto is animal welfare through education. In a little over a decade, through their humane education programs, they have influenced over 20,000 children and launched them on their journey towards compassion for animals and care for the environment. Vasanthi individually has contributed contents related to empathy to school textbooks published by the CBSE board in India. On the International Women's Day 2021, she was honored with the Women's Achiever Award 2021 by the Environment Care and Research Foundation in New Delhi. Thank you for being here with us, Vasanthi. And today she's going to share the importance of including humane education as a part of school curriculum and what are the effective ways of delivering humane education sessions. So over to you, Vasanthi.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Vasanthi Kumar. I'm from Straw India. Thank you, FIAPO, for hosting this wonderful conference, IFA 2022, and giving me an opportunity to speak to this wonderful audience, each of whose hearts beat for animals. My presentation today is Relearning Compassion through Education. Let me share my presentation with you. I'd also be stressing on the importance of including compassion education in the national curriculum. All these three people have been our inspiration. But the quote which Dr. Nelson Mandela says has had a lot of impact on us, to the extent that our motto has become animal welfare through education. While I was working on this presentation, this particular quotation by His Highness the Dalai Lama captured my attention. Love and compassion are necessities, not luxuries, he says. Without them, humanity cannot survive. This is so true in a world where people are fighting with each other, neighbors are fighting with each other, and the nations are at war. Let's see what's the trajectory of compassion. Compassion is the trait that babies are endowed with. In their early years, compassion is something that they need. Every day, the parents and caregivers give it to them. Their survival depends on it. But as they go on in life, compassion becomes dormant. The pressures of performance and academic focus makes them lose their ability to think of others and to empathize with others. Individualism and competition comes to the fore. This is a time where there is an intervention required to relearn compassion. NGOs, teachers, and like-minded people can play a great role in helping this out. This would help in the comprehensive development of the child and in the development of a kinder society. There is a great importance of compassion education to be part of the curriculum. Right now in India, this is not there. It is because teaching compassion to children in schools, in classrooms, helps them understand one another, builds their friendship on trust, and brings about a positive classroom culture. They become leaders of their communities, and they're more productive, cooperative learning and work environments become better, and above all, they become better human beings. I'd like to bring the Denmark example here. According to the United Nations World Happiness Report 2021, Denmark is in the list of top 3 happiest countries in the world, and this has been so for the last 7 years. What is the secret of their happiness? It is teaching empathy as part of the national curriculum since 1993. They just teach them for 1 hour a week and to the students in the age group of 6 to 16. And this has a ripple effect because parents raise happy children, and the children grow up and become adults and again raise happy children, and the cycle repeats itself. What's happening in India? So far, as I told you before, it has not been part of the national curriculum. But the Delhi government has introduced it in 2020, what is known as the happiness, happiness curriculum. The National Education Policy in 2020 has also underscored this and said that compassion and empathy should become part of developing good human beings. We hope that this will not be just a policy and it will go through and actually really get implemented. Here are a few tips about how we can deliver successful and sessions, impactful and successful sessions. The most important thing is to our sessions, sorry. They should get integrated with the curriculum. This helps a lot because children become serious about it. They get marks and therefore it makes a lot of difference. Our sessions should be unique and fun and exciting. It should be short and engaging. Hands-on activities give a lot of support. If we are teaching about birds, for example, we can ask them as a craft activity to work on a bird feeder. Also giving them homework, which they can go home and do, also has a good impact. For older children, group exercises help a lot. Scheduling shelter visits and nature walks also helps in keeping the children engaged. You could also use technology in today's world to make videos about pets around them or about the stray dogs around their colonies. It actually adds to their level of compassion. Compassion education actually has a ripple effect. At Straw India, we do what is known as compassionate classrooms when we used to do physical programs in schools. After the pandemic came in, we converted them into online sessions called Stories of Compassion. Children, once they have learned a story or they learned a few things about compassion, they discuss it with their parents, they discuss it with their friends, and hopefully they will raise compassionate children. I'd like to share a few of our case studies. When we have been working with schools for the last decade or so, this was our first session, one of our first sessions, the Chinmaya Vidyalaya School at Vasanthi Kumar in New Delhi, way back in 2010, when we had taken some few puppies and gone so that children can feel them and get over the fear of dogs, particularly, and animals in general. One of the parents the next day called us and told us that that they would like to adopt a puppy for their child. This was very successful for us and gave us a lot of encouragement. Just last year, in December 2021, we ran a campaign called Become a Santa for Animals Near You. And this was one of the real success stories. The British school in New Delhi called us. In fact, they collected things from class 1 students and the pictures of which are given here. And they gave it to us for the stray dogs that we take care of. There were beds and blankets, feeding bowls and food, which was very, very encouraging. IIT Delhi has been another success story for us. We've been associated with them since 2016. The pictures here shows a first aid session that we had conducted. This is because the students have already become compassionate to animals on the campus, and they have gone to the extent of wanting to learn first aid so that they can take care of the dogs on the campus themselves, at least until they get help. They have formed a WhatsApp group where it consists of students and professors, and they take care of the animals on the campus. And the food is arranged for them from the mess. And that is the leftover food from the mess goes to the dogs. And the students have taken responsibility of the dogs around their hostels. And the institute also takes care of the expenses, especially the medical expenses of some of the animals there. This is a footprint of our work in various schools and colleges. We've been, like I mentioned before, we've been working for the last 10, 12 years, and we worked with many schools and colleges and with a few corporate houses as well. We have impacted colleges, like I told you. I urge all young people and teachers, those who are working with children, to please use every opportunity they get to teach children to be kind to animals. We've been doing this for a while, trying to impact one mind at a time to bring about change. Thank you.
Thank you, Vasanthi. That was a wonderful presentation. Also, I really congratulate you. This is such a powerful work because India has vast majority of youth, and we are a very young country. If we sow the seeds right in the beginning, I'm sure they'll sprout in a better way. So we have a couple of questions that we've received. I'll post the first one. Is the approach of teaching humane education only effective towards children and adolescent youth? What about adults? Is it only possible until a certain age? You're on mute. You're still on mute, I think.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I think you can hear me now. Sorry. Yeah. I was saying that children are the best bet as far as humane education is concerned. They are like a clean slate, and their absorption level is just like a sponge. They just absorb anything that you give it to them. So I think the children are the best bet for us. And as you already mentioned, the nation or anybody becomes what they are taught. So I think teaching children kindness is one of the best things. And as far as we have been working with college students as well. The college students are, once they get into college, they're so busy with their own studies that they have no time to think of even the other things that's happening around them. So leave alone the animals. So, but when we go and talk to them about animals, about the kind of problems that the animals are facing, or some kind of an issue that which they are unaware of, it's a kind of a knowledge to them. They know about it and they take action. Let me give you an example. For example, when we had been to one of the colleges, we had done a document, we screened a documentary on elephants, the kind of problems that elephants face when the elephants that go to the Amer Fort, they give us joy rides. We all enjoy joy rides. But then what happens to the elephants? How did the elephants actually land up here to give us the joy rides? Nobody knows about it. So when we told them, or the documentary was showing it, how the animals have gone through so much of pain, that actually the elephants, the little elephants, the baby elephants have been snatched away from their mothers, from their families. They come here and they're actually, to break their spirits, they are beaten, they are starved, and they are kept in isolation. And then after that, they are made to listen to them. They're chained, of course, and then they give us joy rides. Then what happens? Then the poor things can't do anything but give you joy rides. Once the students got to know about this, they almost about 200 of them that were there that day, they all raised their hand and they pledged that they'll never take a joy ride. So that was a moment of kind of an happiness for us, that we've been able to at least influence them to that extent. So even if not the 200 of them, even a handful of them take their pledge seriously, I think that has made a difference. As far as the adults are concerned, I feel that they are still open to influence, that they are kind of hardwired. It is difficult to influence them, but I will not say that they won't get influenced at all, because recently we have started working with RWAs, trying to change their mindset so that they get along well with the people who feed dogs and with the dogs themselves. So I think it's not a no-no. You can always try it out, and there's no age limit for trying out humane education.
Thank you, Vasanthi. So that brings us to the second question, which is very interesting because it coincides with in your, I think your third slide. It says, since every child spends a lot of time with parents and friends who may not care so much about humane living, how do you think these one-time workshops have a sustained impact in terms of shaping perspectives of these children?
But we also believe that it's a much better thing to have a sustained teaching for them. That's why we hope and pray that it becomes part of curriculum. But even a one-time session does help, because they do get some kind of an idea about what it is, and it does help them to get an idea at least of what it is. But yes, as you say, that I think it is more than one time. You should have more sessions. At least we believe at least about 3 sessions is a good thing, is what we do. Yeah.
Thank you. So the third question is, can you say more about your approach of working with the education boards of India to get humane education included in the school curriculums?
Okay, well, when I worked with the Central Board of Secondary Education, it's a long drawn thing, actually, because you know how close they are about as far as changing curriculum is concerned. It is a difficult task, actually, I would say. That is, you have to knock many doors, and one would get lucky if the doors open, and then talk to the right people, and then after that you have to be extremely persistent, actually, and then it can take you a year or even more to be successful in getting that door open. And yeah, that's the way it is. But I think there is another way that one can do it. That is, the CBSE or any education board, they keep coming up with number of they publish textbooks from time to time, and that keeps changing. So when that happens, I think that is a door that one can open up. Even if we are able to contribute 1 or 2 chapters relating to empathy for animals, I feel that that will make a difference, because those books are studied by for example, in CBSE, more than 10,000 schools are affiliated to CBSE. So imagine the number of students. It's a large number, and you can have a kind of an umbrella cover of that. Even that one chapter, it makes a difference. So I feel that if people are keep tapping, keep knocking the door, I think sometimes the door will open, and then you can at least introduce that 1 or 2 chapters in the textbooks that you can, whichever is getting published at that time. And actually, humane education can be used in every subject. Actually, it has to be improvised in that way. If it can be done, so the opportunity is immense. I think we have to just keep on being persistent about it, and look out for opportunities to be able to do it.
Thank you, Vasanthi.
Yeah.
So it kind of sounded like you're saying that persistence and remaining hopeful, and then using every opportunity that you get.
More persistence. Yeah, it is difficult to get into the curriculum part of it. Actually, it is.
Okay, that gets us to our 4th question. It says, with an experience that most dog bite victims are often children, how can we help parents and children not fear stray animals and yet be protected from becoming victims of stray animal bites?
Actually, most children or people, this has been our experience, that people are very scared of dogs. It's not that of course, there are a large group of them who don't like dogs at all. They don't want to have any dogs near them at all. But people are scared of dog bites. So I feel that children getting friendly with dogs, or for that matter, any person, even adults, getting friendly with dogs really, really helps. Because as we all know, a dog is really a man's best friend. He has to just start trusting you. once he starts trusting you, he is wagging his tail. And if we can get more children to do that, I think we have crossed over the problem. Let me give you an example here. I used to have there used to be a person who used to come to my house to supply milk. And there was a dog who used to be on my staircase whom I used to feed, who's currently, now he is part of my family. So this dog used to be on the staircase and he considered that portion as his territory. Never used to allow anybody to come. But when I told this milk supplier that here are a few biscuits, please feed this dog. And he started feeding the dog, and he became, within a matter of 4 or 5 days, the dog became his friend and he used to wait for him to come. So, the problem was solved. And yeah, I think it's the question of that building up trust. So we've been doing, like I told before, we've been doing programs for RWAs nowadays. And this question what you posed just now comes up time and again, that how do we get over this fear, especially of children? And I keep telling them the same thing, and I give the same example. I said, just please give a few biscuits to the dog that is coming close to you. Of course, this is beyond what we teach them, or how to how to avoid dog bites. We do a lesson on that, and then we do that. Tell them that please do this also. Please just feed them biscuits for a short while. The dog will start wagging his tail after a few minutes, and I think some steps of this kind will help. The idea is to get that animal to start trusting you.
Thank you, Vasanthi. Yeah. So taking you to the next question, you've also talked about peer pressure and the kind of environment that we get, how compassion goes out of the system. Somebody's asked related to that, how do you convince children that having compassionate mind does not equate with weakness? It seems to be a popular subconscious notion.
I think when we tell stories, we normally do our program through stories. It's called stories of kindness. And we do it when we do it through stories, the children actually get quite enamored with the whole thing. And they themselves come up with the ideas of how we can do it differently. And I think that they just they accept it the way we are telling them, and it is not that they are they consider it as a weakness to be compassionate. At least I've not come across a situation like that when children thought that it was a weakness to be compassionate. In fact, I remember a little child who used to be part of our programs. He used to attend every other program, and he was a little 5-year-old boy who used to raise his hand. When he raised his hand, it was he was not able to keep his fingers together. He used to raise it like this. And this little boy, when we told him a story about how elephants are being misused in circuses and how they are made to stand outside temples, he came up with a good suggestion. He said that why don't we use some metal elephants, big statues of them outside the temples, so that we don't have to trouble the elephants, the real elephants. That coming out from a 5-year-old child was quite a eye-opener to us as well. So I think it's, I don't think, I've not come across a situation where the child thinks it is weakness. At least not a child. Maybe adolescents, possibly, they might, but I have not come across a situation like that. Okay.
Yes, thank you. Very rightly said. That brings us to another question here. And it says, a lot of psychoanalytic and behavior studies of criminals have shown that most criminals start by hurting animals at an early age. What are the signs of some noticeable inhumane behavior to look for in children? And how can this be corrected in children at an early age?
That's a nice question, actually. Actually, I think that children do not hurt animals because at least we should not consider it as inhuman. Let me just go about it with an example. There's a huge green belt in. There are many green belts in Delhi, actually. So in South Delhi, where I stay, I go to one of them for a walk in the mornings. And there was a child who used to come with his mother, who was a gardener there, and he used to, when I was walking, I found this child actually stamping some ants. And when he just killed the ants, and he just went on stamping. So I went and asked him, why are you killing the ants? So he said, no, I'm not killing the ants. I'm just playing with them. The child was not aware that he was actually, the ant was getting killed. He was just curious about the fact that what will happen if I stamp this ant? So I think it was not an inhuman act. He was just curious about it. But at that moment, when I told him, no, what you're doing is not right, it is a small creature. Though it's a small creature, it's got life, and you should not kill it. So then, he gave me a look as if of understanding. He said, nahi karna chahiye. So, he understood. So I think it depends upon the elders in the family, the parents particularly, teachers as well, and anybody else who comes in touch with with the little children, that to tell them that what they're doing is not right. So it is, I think once if you tell them this, then the child grows up in that fashion and becomes a more compassionate human being over a period of time. So I think it is the responsibility of the elders to monitor this kind of a thing, to tell the children not to do it. If they don't do that, if they ignore it, or they themselves do it, that is, they themselves do a thing like that, ways of any honeybee comes inside your house because you kept the lights on, and then they go around with the swat stick and they do it, then it's not okay. The child also learns it that way.
Very, very rightly said. It's up to the elders to set
very much up to the elders to do that, because children are just doing it out of curiosity, and I think one has to take care of that.
Thank you. That brings us to another question. Somebody is perhaps curious about compassionate classrooms. So they're asking how to excel in public speaking, which is a core skill to start compassionate education for any form of education.
Can you please repeat the question?
So somebody is asking, how do you excel in public speaking? Or I think it's about what tools are required to be so good at humane education teaching. What is it that is required, and how can one excel in it?
I think this is, it's got little to do with public speaking, actually. I think anybody you can, if you are able to, especially teachers, I think if you have a love for animals on one hand, and children on the other hand, one can get into compassionate classroom programs. I mean, as teachers, they can, because both their desires are getting fulfilled, of children on one side and animals on the other side. And then you don't end up giving just lectures. You're also doing many activities with them. You're teaching them, and children come up with many questions which you're trying to explain to them. So you have to, I think it's more of the contents. The contents has to be interesting. It has to do with animals and how you can be kind to the animals. And I think that's what it needs. And I think more importantly, you have to get a permission from the school to allow you to come and do the program, which is a more difficult thing. Doing the program is not very difficult.
So one has to be persistent and has to get through the school also. That is also a skill that we have to develop.
Getting into schools is a difficult task. Yes, it is.
So there's one last question, and I think we just have 1 minute.
Yeah.
So this says, a lot of times we have seen children working in meat shops, even slaughtering an animal on occasions. And it is a fact that most children walk past meat shops, bird cages, pet shops without paying any attention to it. Why is this so? Or in your experience, have you ever found that children do think about these things or have questioned them or wanted to do something about them?
I feel that for many children, especially in urban settings, I can talk more about urban settings because I've lived more in the urban areas, and I've worked with school children again in urban areas. So I feel that most children, for them, they have to most of the children don't know where the source of their food is. For them, water comes from a tap, and food comes from a grocery, and including meat or any meat products come from a supermarket. So for them, I don't think they look at it that way. That is, where it comes. But then there are some children, possibly because their parents themselves have been very, they explain things to their children, and they may possibly, I wish it is like that they have gone through one of our sessions or anybody else who's conducting similar compassionate classroom sessions. And then they start understanding, they realize that, yeah, a bird is not supposed to be kept in a cage, or a fish is not supposed to be in an aquarium. So then, when a little bit of they have this, they get an inkling that, then they start questioning things, that some bit of input has to be there for them to start thinking like that. So I think it is more of, again, depends upon the elders of what is taught to their children than what they go through. Otherwise, I think the children just maybe walking through a pet shop or a meat shop or anything else, and then they possibly they may not question it.
Yes. Thank you so much. That brings us to the conclusion of this session. And thank you for sharing your knowledge and your experience with all of us. It's very enriching. With this, I give over to you, Sanjana.
Thank you so much. I just enjoyed this session. Thank you very much. Thank you, Fiapo, for having me here.